All right, so you brought us this audio, right, from thickshades.com, and wow, tackling evil with good. I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds, pretty straightforward. But then they bring in loyalty, betrayal.
Yeah.
Suddenly we're in for something way more complex.
Yeah, it gets kind of deep, right?
So before we dive headfirst into this whole thing,
Yeah.
can you give me, like, the quick version? What's at the heart of this audio? Where are we headed?
Think of it like almost a guidebook, but for those times when you're wrestling with how to react when someone hurts you, especially like someone you should be able to trust, the audio really digs into how instead of, fighting fire with fire, Christian teaching pushes for something completely different.
Right.
Responding with, like, genuine goodness.
Okay, see, I knew we were going straight for the turn the other cheek territory,
Yeah.
which honestly feels so far from how most of us instinctively react.
Right.
The excerpt, like, zeroes in on that natural human urge, to want revenge when someone wrongs us, almost like it's hardwired into us.
And it is. It's deeply ingrained. I mean, think about it. When someone causes us pain, don't we almost immediately want them to feel that same pain? But what the excerpt is getting at is how that just keeps the cycle going, the negativity. And ultimately, we just stay stuck, hurting.
And that's where they pull in Romans, right? 12, 17, 21. That whole don't get revenge, but conquer evil with good idea.
Exactly. And that's what's so challenging, but also so profound, right? I mean, in Roman society where an eye for an eye was basically the law, this teaching, it was radical. To suggest forgiveness, love, as a response to brutality and injustice, it was unheard of, even today. It goes against every fiber of our being.
You're telling me, so, okay, but there's got to be more to it than just, like, taking the moral high ground, right?
Absolutely. And get this. Studies have shown that practicing forgiveness, it can actually lower your stress, even improve your heart health.
Seriously?
Yeah. And even your immune system gets stronger.
Wow. Okay. So there are, like, real benefits to embracing this. But let's be real. Talking about forgiveness in theory, easy. Putting it into practice, whole different story, especially when emotions are running high.
Yeah.
So let's say someone does something hurtful and you decide, okay, not going to stoop to their level. I'm just staying out of it. Would that count as overcoming evil with good?
You see, that is a fantastic question. And the excerpt actually tackles this head on. It gets that actively doing good to someone who just hurt you. That's hard, especially when it's still so raw. But it also makes us ask ourselves, is neutrality really enough?
So, not wrong, but maybe not hitting that, like, overcoming part.
Exactly. Because think back to Matthew 5.44. It's not just about tolerating the people who hurt us. Jesus specifically says, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you. That takes action.
Okay, now that I call a challenge.
Back then, blessing someone who cursed you might have meant offering them water if they were thirsty, helping if they were hurt. Today, maybe it means writing a letter, forgiving them, offering practical help, or even just praying for them, even when it's the very last thing you want to do.
Okay, that's next level stuff.
It is. It's a total shift in thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, the excerpt gets that. It acknowledges how tough this is, and it encourages us to be real with ourselves. There will be times when actively choosing good feels impossible, and that's okay. The important thing is to not make things worse with more negativity. Break the cycle.
So step one, resist the urge to, like, draft that strongly worded letter or, whatever our modern equivalent is.
Got it. This part of the audio is about seeing the harm we cause, both to ourselves and others, by clinging to that negativity. It's about actively choosing a different path.
Healing, peace.
Yes, even when it's hard.
And believe me, it often is. But what about when that hurt, the hurt we're trying to move past? What about when it comes from people we should be able to trust? Love, even. I mean, the excerpt takes this sharp turn into disloyalty and betrayal-heavy stuff.
And rightfully so, because that feeling, being stabbed in the back by someone you thought, someone you trusted, it's one of the most painful things we go through. Shakes you to your core. It really does.
And they don't hold back. The excerpt really leans into the importance of loyalty, like even quoting Proverbs 17.17, right? The whole, a friend loves at all times and a brother is born for adversity. Powerful image, right?
It is. And you know what makes it so strong? It's that contrast, that comparison. Like, deep down, we just get loyalty, right? Especially in families. So to say a true friend, they're even closer, especially when things get rough, that really hits home.
It's like friends are the family you choose. But that makes me think, what happens when that trust is broken, when someone isn't loyal? The excerpt talks about forgiveness, but then it's like it also suggests distancing yourself from people who keep doing it. How do you balance those? Like, can you forgive but still say, you know what, You're not getting a front row seat to my life anymore.
Man, that's the question, isn't it? And what the excerpt does so well, it separates those two. Forgiveness, it doesn't automatically equal trust or reconciliation. You don't have to just keep taking it, keep putting up with bad behavior, all in the name of like being good. Forgiveness, it's about letting go of that anger, that bitterness you have towards the person. It doesn't mean giving them a free pass to hurt you again.
Okay, so it's not about, like, being a pushover. You can still have boundaries.
Exactly. It's about knowing you deserve respect. And sometimes, honestly, the best thing, the most loving thing even, is to get some distance.
Protect yourself.
Yes. And the excerpt actually uses Psalm 41.9 to make this point. It talks about that betrayal, from someone close, someone who you shared everything with, but then they turn on you. It's powerful.
It's like this visceral thing,
Yeah.
and you realize, wow, this person I trusted, they weren't who I thought. It's gut-wrenching. So then what? The excerpt, it seems like it's saying sometimes separation, it's necessary. So everyone can heal, grow. Is that what they're getting at?
I think so, yeah. And that's where you need to really listen to yourself, that inner voice. That's your connection to the Holy Spirit, right? It'll guide you, help you make those tough choices. Even Jesus, he needed space sometimes from certain people, certain situations. It was for his own well-being, spiritual well-being. He never shied away from conflict, but he also knew when to walk away.
That's a good point. It's not like Jesus was inviting everyone into his inner circle no matter what.
Boundaries, right?
But that can be so hard, though, especially if you were raised to believe, like, reconciliation. That's the goal no matter what. Like, you just keep forgiving, even if the other person, they aren't even sorry. They don't change.
That's huge, what you just said. Forgiveness, it doesn't mean staying in a relationship that's toxic, that's hurting you. Stepping away, sometimes that's the most Christ-like thing you can do for yourself, and even for them. It's an act of love, even if it hurts at the time.
It's like that saying, sometimes you got to be a high tide and let go of what almost drowned you. Like, by letting go, maybe you give both of you the space to actually heal, to grow.
That is powerful. And it gets at the heart of it, It's about finding that wisdom inside yourself, knowing what's right for you, even if it goes against what everyone else expects, even if it's hard.
So how do you even find that inner compass? How do you know when to hold on, when to let go, when to offer forgiveness, when to create distance? The excerpt talks a lot about being around the right people, people who embody that loyalty, that integrity, the kind of people who can help you stay grounded when you feel lost.
Right. Because community is huge, especially for actually living this stuff out. The excerpt, it talks about having those Proverbs 17.1 even friends. A friend loves at all times, the ones who are there no matter what.
It's like having a safety net,
Yeah.
People who get it, who can be there for you, offer advice when you feel lost. But the excerpt goes even further. It's not just about having friends who are good people. It's about being around people who make you want to be better, who push you to grow in your faith.
That is so important, yeah. Think about the people you know who just, radiate the qualities you admire, compassion, forgiveness, integrity. Seeing them live it out, that's powerful. It reminds you, hey, this is actually possible, even when the world feels like it's pushing you in the opposite direction.
You become who you hang out with. Like, if we want to actually live out this radical love, this whole overcoming evil with good thing, we got to be around people who want that too.
Right.
Because let's be real, it's one thing to talk about forgiveness.
Totally. And that's where a good support system comes in, Friends, family, your church community. They can be there for you, remind you of the big picture, gently nudge you back to a place of grace when you need it.
Like a cheerleading squad, but instead of pom-poms, they're armed with, like, Bible verses and words of hope. But even with that, there could be those times when the hurt, the anger, even the desire for revenge, it's just a lot. So what do you do then? The excerpt talks about, like, surrendering those feelings to God, that vengeance, it's his, not ours. What does that actually look like, though?
That's where prayer comes in. Admitting that we don't have all the answers, that sometimes we just want to take control to make sure things are made right, on our terms. Surrendering to God, it doesn't mean you pretend those feelings aren't there. It's just acknowledging, hey, I don't have to carry this alone. It's trusting that he sees your pain, he hears you, and ultimately, he's got this.
That's powerful. And it kind of shows how transformative this message is, right? It's not just about us getting better on our own. It's about letting God work through us, letting him take our hurt and turn it into something good, something life-giving.
Yes.
We become instruments of his peace, not because we're so strong, but because we're letting go, letting him lead.
That's beautiful. And that's how we break free from that negativity, how we shine some light into the world. Because Think about it. Our choices, they have a ripple effect. Every time we choose forgiveness, every time we choose love, it makes a difference. It makes the world a little bit more peaceful, a little more just.
Wow, so much to think about. As we wrap up here, any final thoughts? What do you want to leave our listener with?
Remember how the excerpt ended? It challenged us to actually do this, to live this out. So I'd say, think about a time when you were hurt. What did you do? How could these principles, these teachings, how could they have changed things? Because it's in those little moments, those everyday choices, that we really show what we believe.
It starts with us, right? And those choices we make each and every day.
Well, thank you so much for taking this deep dive with me. And to our listener, thank you for listening. Keep searching for truth, keep asking the tough questions, and keep living out your faith in a way that makes the world a little bit brighter. We'll see you next time.